Very few boxers have made an impact like Mike Tyson. It is extremely rare for a boxer to transcend the sport so much that even people that haven't watched a single boxing fight know their name. Tyson was one of the very few who reached extraordinary levels of success. While his out-of-ring persona definitely gathered a lot of attention, it was his vicious, peekaboo style of boxing that left a trail of bodies in the ring, giving him the perfect moniker, the baddest man on the planet. Fortunately for us, there is much information on Mike's training methods and routines. In this video today, I'm going to take a look at the more important areas of his development stages and while he was in his prime. But first up, it's important to go back where it all started. Mike Tyson was born on June 30th, 1966 in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. He had very troubled years, just like many of his peers, living only with his mother in a crime-ridden neighbourhood. By the time he was 13, Tyson had been arrested 38 times for petty crimes and was sent to a juvenile detention centre. It is here Mike would find boxing through one of the counsellors, a former boxer himself, Bobby Stewart. He would be the man who would align the stars and arrange the fateful meeting between a young Mike Tyson and the man that would completely change his life to help him become world champion, Cus D'Amato. It would take 7 years since the meeting for Mike to become the youngest heavyweight champion at 20 years old.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down. And we have a new era in boxing.
Throughout his entire life, Cus D'Amato was around fighters, training, coaching, and observing them. He opened his first gym at the age of 22, and it was his lifelong dream and mission to find a rough diamond that he could shape into the world's best fighter. He had the formula for the perfect fighter. All that he needed was a final ingredient, and after a lifetime of effort, fate met him with Mike Tyson. It has been stated so many times now how important the teachings of Cus were for Mike.
He didn't let me box. He would just talk to me for like 2 or 3 weeks about fighting and the psychology of fighting. And what fighting was truly about. Fighting wasn't nothing physical, it was all spiritual. And he was saying, if you don't have the spiritual warrior in you, you'll never be a good fighter. I don't care how big or strong you are. And he explained that to me.
It's not so the technical or the physical aspects, but more his philosophy and mindset that Cus instilled in his fighters. For him, one of the most important aspects of a boxer was his character, and bringing out that character in fighters was his main task. Cus was a great psychologist, looking for a way inside his boxer's mind, from where he could instill the necessary knowledge and mindset to become champion. He taught Mike the mental control over his psyche that gave him the unwavering confidence. And one way of doing this, to get into Mike's subconscious, was through hypnotism.
And you know what else Cus D'Amato used to do with me? He used to take me to a hypnotist. He was a hypnotist as well. Yeah, they used to go in the hypnotist motion. You relax, you go under, you totally focus on blackness, nothingness.
Right.
And you go under and you're just being this savage, intelligent animal. You're just working, you're going to do this, you're going to be a ferocious animal, you're going to fight, puff both hands to the body, you'll use your jab, you're going to do this in ferocious fashion. And they seeked all that in me as I was younger.
And you were like 12, 13 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. So they're putting you under and just teaching you that mindset.
Yeah.
Whoa. Did he give you any advice on how to shut it off?
No. No.
For many people, this is what made Mike Tyson special. Not that his physical attributes and boxing style were not impressive, but it was his mentality perhaps that played the biggest role in his enormous success when he was coming through the ranks. There is no denying though that Cus had so much belief in Mike Tyson, and all he wanted to see was him to become champion. Cus D'Amato was obviously instrumental in creating Iron Mike Tyson, but he was not the only trainer that worked with Tyson even before his death in 1985. There was the likes of Teddy Atlas, who trained Mike in his amateur years before they had a fallout in 1982. That role was then handed over to Kevin Rooney, who oversaw the second part of Tyson's amateur career and then for his first 35 professional fights. Another prominent trainer Mike worked with was Rich Gigetti, who prepared Mike for a few fights also in the 90s. All of them helped Tyson amass his incredible accolades and his devastation in the ring. But now, let's go into the actual training of Iron Mike. This part of the video will mainly focus on the prime period of Mike Tyson and as he was coming up for the ranks, and how he was truly the unbeatable baddest man on the planet. Luckily, there's a lot of detailed information and videos on how Mike trained under Kevin Rooney during his first championship reign. Many people also believe that if Mike hadn't left Rooney in 1988, he could have very well remained undefeated. As you might imagine, Tyson's training was insanely intense, and this was another aspect that set him apart from his foes. Cardio. We have to start with his cardio because without the gas in the tank, even the most powerful car won't move an inch. Mike Tyson's genetics made him explosive, powerful beyond measure. On the rare occasions when opponents managed to survive the initial rounds, it became clear that Tyson was so explosive and did not fare so well in the endurance department. But this did not mean that Mike did not train extensively in his cardio. For example, no boxer in the previous generations neglected running, even to this day, so neither did Mike Tyson. Each morning, or might I say late at night, he started with a 3 to 5 mile run. Tyson rose at around 4 AM for his jog. It's not that this was mandatory, but this is yet another one of those small things that he felt gave him a psychological edge over his opposition, where he would also add in 10 interval sprints of high intensity, much like the way he fought. Another mandatory aspect of every boxer's training is jump rope. Mike used the jump rope as another way to demonstrate his otherworldly explosiveness, doing lightning fast double and triple unders while squatting halfway through to the ground. Boxing training. The peekaboo style. Tyson fought with a very specific and not very common style called a peekaboo. Created by Tutor Cus D'Amato, the peekaboo is a boxing style that emphasises counterpunching, but contrary to regular counters which are usually delivered while on the back foot, in the peekaboo style, the fighter applies aggression and forward momentum, pressurising the opponent to throw an attack that is then countered. This style features a stance where both fists are on the cheeks and the fighter is constantly bobbing and weaving from side to side, evading and countering with sharp combinations. The peekaboo style used by Tyson also employs a lot of shifting footwork that works on multiple levels at the same time. The specifics of the style require significant explosiveness and coordination to work, and this made it perfect for Tyson's physical attributes. Shadowboxing. Obviously, you weren't expecting shadowboxing to be missing from Mike's training, were you? A prime Mike Tyson's shadowboxing is a thing of beauty. It's always mesmerising to watch him to shadowbox just as he would in the ring, and it's almost like inhumane speed and precision with these punches. Every move was perfected and promised perfectly trained violence. The heavy bag was also another tool to help develop punching power, endurance, and work on technique. Tyson obviously had an abundance of that, and his punches themselves on the heavy bag sounded like a shotgun firing off. Mike as well would also train specific drills, combinations, and sequences on the pads with the likes of Rooney daily. Many of the recorded drills we watch later become real knockouts in the ring. It's really fascinating to see him work for the likes of Rooney and Atlas, and see him taking the information to understand what he's trying to do, especially when he was younger. And you can tell he's really taking his time to absorb this information before putting it into practice. Finally, there was obviously sparring. Cus D'Amato was an old school trainer, and as such believed that the only way to be a really good boxer is to obviously spar often. So for Mike and his training, this was a daily occurrence. He would spar 10 to 20 rounds every single day, and even sometimes do it without headgear. Cus believed the headgear gave fighters a sense of false protection, and maybe he was right. Today, headgear may prevent damage like cuts and bruises, but it's not necessarily going to stop brain damage. Mike was also very elusive and hard to hit in his early career, and a big part of that, no doubt, was his boxing specific training. Despite the insane number of sparring rounds, he also spent a lot of time drilling specific things while sparring. His shadowboxing mitt-work sessions are often focused on single techniques or scenarios he wanted to improve. The sparring obviously provided the opportunity to test this out. Strength and conditioning. Tyson was famous for his insane strength and conditioning routines. They were simple but brutal. He would split his overall routine of 500 bench dips, 500 push-ups, 2000 sit-ups, and 500 squats into 10 sets that he would do throughout the day, which honestly doesn't make it any less impressive. Have in mind that this was done as a supplement to all his boxing training and running. Mike was also well known to avoid weights, but he did have a favourite exercise that he would use from time to time, which included weighted shoulder shrugs. Around 500 of them were also part of his daily routine, along with those other bodyweight exercises. Mike also extensively trained his neck. In addition to the trap development he got thanks to his shrugs, he did a lot of wrestler bridges that got his neck to almost 20 inches in thickness. If you're going to withstand heavyweight punches, you definitely need a strong neck. It was a very simple strength and conditioning program, but no one can argue it produced exceptional results. This could demonstrate that there is no need for overly complicated scientific-based workouts. Or it could demonstrate that Mike Tyson was such a physical specimen that his insane reps of the basic exercise were enough to develop him into the monster he was. Take it either way you like. Diet and recovery. Mike ate a lot of food to fuel his insane training routine. He would eat around 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, according to various sources. Another thing Cus D'Amato was ahead of his time despite his age was his nutrition knowledge. Cus developed a diet plan all the way back in the 60s, and he put Mike on it as well. He ate a lot of oats, milk, chicken, rice, protein shakes, and drank vitamin C rich orange juice. He also occasionally ate pasta to refill his carbohydrate needs, which refueled him for his intense workouts. While Mike was adamant around his diet during his training in his championship reign, however, he was not so disciplined with his food from time to time and would regularly eat his favourite cereal or ice cream. As Mike also couldn't always be training all the time, Cus would make Mike Tyson watch and study fighters from the past. This in a way no doubt helped Mike be able to pick up on different styles and techniques, which he could obviously use himself or prepare to defend against when he was in the ring.
When I was 12 years old, I was saying I spent a great deal of time with Cus D'Amato, and at his house there's a vast variety of fight history, and I made it my business to find out everything I can about these fighters. And I figured if I'm going to enter a game, I should know everything about it from the beginning to the end.
Personally, as someone who runs a YouTube channel, I think this is a crucial area to do nowadays, especially with the amount of fights you can get online and analysis videos which you can find on my channel. And that's the great thing about the sweet science. You can never stop learning. And that is something no doubt Mike and Cus knew was the case. The later years. Tyson's reign of terror over the heavyweight divisions would fall at the hands of Buster Douglas and would become one of the biggest upset in the history of boxing. He quickly rebounded and scored several more impressive wins before he was sent to prison nearly 3 years later. After he got out, he returned to the ring, but he never had that same untouchable aura about him. Nevertheless, he did win world championships back again in 1996, becoming just one of few men to reclaim the heavyweight crown. Mike fought up until 2005, but in his later years, he was just a shadow of his former champion self, I must admit. However, 15 years later, Mike decided to come back in the ring against fellow boxing legend Roy Jones Jr., with the two meeting in November 2020 in an 8-round exhibition fight. The fight did not produce the fireworks many expected, but it was very clear Tyson took the preparation seriously. We were treated with a lot of video material from the Jones fight camp, where Tyson, despite being 54 years old, had gotten in fantastic shape. We can only guess the exact training regime he went under, but I'm certain it was not the level, obviously, of his championship years. Still, old Mike Tyson still looked very much like Iron Mike, and looked every bit as impressive in his training. It clearly never truly all goes away. It's only natural to want to know how world-class fighters train, and luckily for us in the age of the internet, a lot of information is readily available, so we can study it and watch videos and use everything that suits us. Most of us know that Mike Tyson did not become one of the most dominating heavyweights in championship history, but this was his formula, and it wouldn't be very likely for others to have the same level of success if they were to replicate this training, in my opinion. But it's always fun to dissect the routines of the true greats and take elements of it into your own training. Nothing in his physical training was truly special or that different. It was just insane amounts of boxing and specific training and countless sets of push-ups and sit-ups. What set Mike Tyson apart and made him the most feared boxer on the planet was his unwavering resolve, character and viciousness developed by his mentor Cus D'Amato. Add to that the peekaboo style, which seemed like a match made in heaven for Tyson's genetics and body, and you get a boxer that will remain one of the greatest and most memorable heavyweight champions of all time. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Mike Tyson's training regime. Do you think we'll see another heavyweight champion similar to him? I'll leave you with this last clip of Mike getting asked about Cus. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
You have the chance to send an email to Cus D'Amato. What would you write in that email to Cus?
Oh shit. How did I do? That's what I'm saying, how did I do?